Good morning. I know we have lots of people that are joining us today. And we're just going to, I know several people are still logging in, so if we can just give them a few moments. Thank you for joining us. I'm Terry Kimball, President and CEO of the Chandler Chamber. And I want to do a shout out and thank Dignity Health, Chandler Regional Medical Center, Intel, SRP, and Catalyst Computer Technologies. And they are our sponsors for this great program. So shout out to them. If this would not be possible without these great sponsors. So all right, boy, we still have more people coming. Mayor, you've got a lot of people that want to hear from you today.
It's always a pleasure.
Well, we thank you for joining us. This is important for our members to hear from you as well. All right. We still. So again, good morning. Thank you for everybody for being here. I'm Terry Kimball, President and CEO here at the Chandler Chamber, and I'm so pleased we also have our board chair, Molly Bell, here that will be leading today's discussion, as well as our very own Mayor Kevin Hartke. So thank you everybody for joining us. I know some people, the number keeps growing. I love that we have so many people that are interested to hear what you have to say, Mayor. So at this time, I am going to turn it over to Molly. And Molly, I'll let you take it from here as our 2020 board chair. And Molly, I just have to do a shout out. Yesterday, your video was great. Yesterday, the Chamber celebrated 108 years in business. So thank you for everything.
Yeah, good morning, Terry. That's actually what I was going to start off with. So hopefully you have all recovered from your birthday celebration yesterday. What an amazing, opportunity to wish the Chandler Chamber a birthday at 108 years old. So, congratulations on that and best wishes for many more years to come. I want to start off just with, a thank you for each and every one of you joining. We realize that we're in an unusual situation right now, and taking time out of your day to have an opportunity to talk with the mayor today, I think is very important. So Mayor, I'm going to kick it over to you. I want to do kind of an introduction, welcome, and then we'll get started with the questions that have been already submitted.
Great. Well, thanks, Molly. I want to start off by saying happy birthday, Chamber. That's exciting, 108 years. And the Chamber has been obviously a very prominent force in helping businesses in our community ever since then. So I want to say good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful day in Chandler, Arizona. And again, thank you to the Chamber for organizing this virtual event and for all who are joining us this morning as well. It's really important for us to endeavor to stay connected through these times. So I appreciate the opportunity that the Chamber has provided to connect today. Our council and our staff's priority through this pandemic has been to continue for public safety as well as protecting our public health. Many of you saw a lot of news yesterday going on concerning our public safety and an event that happened near downtown. And I'm happy to let you know, if you haven't heard, that although we had 3 officers that were shot, they're all fine, and the suspect was apprehended alive, and he's going to be going away for a long time as a result of this. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we've taken a proactive response to prepare, to respond and plan for the future to keep our community safe, as well as the best that is possible through this economically stable. And throughout the implementation of the governor's executive orders, the city has been working with local businesses on understanding and compliance to the new guidelines, access to resources, and assistance in navigating this crisis to mitigate the impact on our community. I hope that you have visited our COVID-19 business resource page, where you can find links and information about resources and a contact form to submit your questions, needs, and concerns for our economic development team. We've also launched the interactive Shop Chandler platform for businesses to post available services and job opportunities for our residents to search. And we've also temporarily shifted the focus of our tech-based incubator innovations to now assist all businesses with their planning needs, and city staff is on hand to assist you in any way that we can. We've also relaxed some sign codes to allow for flexibility during this tough time. And as I look over downtown, I see a lot of banners and sign codes announcing that they're open for business and takeout. And it's a council action, so it'll be council that when this is all over, that we're relooking at our sign code as well. I do want to encourage you to continue to reach out to council and staff with your needs, with your concerns, to see how we can provide you with resources in this ever-changing situation. Council and I continue to advocate for the CARES Act and funding to support our local businesses. I've seen a lot of comments on Facebook, on chat groups about the release of the loans, the release of the PPE. I'm glad to hear that some streams of finances are coming to our small businesses, although it seems too little, too late in some cases, but I know that it's an ongoing work in process. Just last week, I did send a letter to our state and our federal legislators advocating for more resources for our small businesses, and I'm glad to see that that came through, as well as finances for small cities and towns. Last week, Chandler reviewed our current economic situation and discussed a phased approach to reopening city facilities and services and programs as well. We made a decision to reopen certain outdoor park facilities that can be used while following social distancing. Tennis courts, pickleball courts, dog parks, and archery courts were those open, space were those open last Friday. And a complete and up-to-date list of our current operational status of the city facilities and services can be found on the city's COVID-19 resource webpage. Last week, council and staff also held an all-day budget briefing to plan for the next fiscal year and to discuss the impacts of COVID-19. We're planning on, obviously, this is going to take a cut on our city revenues. We've seen that already with this fiscal year. We've planned for next year, and what we've asked staff for is to give us plenty of flexibility that as we further understand the impact of this upon our city and our ability to meet the needs of our community, that we'll be gathering several times over this next year, every several months, to relook at our city finances and make appropriate changes. Important updates to our master plans for the airport and parks will continue through this next fiscal year, and we will be utilizing innovative methods for community engagement and public input through this process as well. We'll continue to develop solutions using Arizona data, and our actions going forward will be guided by what we understand is, even though it will change, as the president's guidelines for opening up America again, and the governor's executive orders, while following public health and staff recommendations. It's obvious that the governor will be making some announcements this week, as his current EO tends to expire on Thursday night. So we anticipate, perhaps today, this afternoon, an update to this or some other information related to this. I'll continue to share updates from the city with you as I have frequent conversations with our state, federal, and health officials to advocate for Chandler and to discuss what's going on around the community, state, and nation as well. We'll continue to provide services that you utilize daily, like water, wastewater, trash collection, and we're continuing to plan for the community, the future of our community as well. We're still operating, we're open for business. We'll continue to seek out innovative ways to keep our community safe and prosperous. So, how can I answer any specific questions?
All right. Well, thank you, Mayor. I think you answered a couple of the questions already, just about parks and pickleball and things like that. But we're going to start off with a couple of questions that were submitted yesterday. And so what are your thoughts on testing in Chandler and how the city can support increased testing capacity? And do you think that's needed?
I think more testing would certainly be helpful on a local level to understand the impact of this virus and its spread. It's also one of the recommended steps, both by the president and what the governor has been looking at to open up our community. So in both of those regards, I do think it's important. I don't think that the city is in the best position for us to be testing. The amount of personal protection equipment that we would burn through, currently we've got enough for months. We would burn through our entire existing supply in probably 2 weeks were we to go into testing. So we'd be quite open into looking to partner for a location and seeing how we can support some private testing in our community.
Okay. Do you have any plans right now on how to reopen Chandler?
Yeah, we actually, Thursday night, we had a session that's available online. We went till about 11 o'clock, modeling again a 3-phase plan on what would that be to open up different facilities that are closed, like our museums, like our libraries, like our passport office, utilities, and other places where we interact with the public. We believe that the best way to do this, similar, again, following the president's 3 phases, is to look at a similar response into making sure that we're able to meet needs, also keeping track with what's going on with testing and things that if a relapse would happen, that we would have the nimbleness and agility to make future steps. But we do have a plan in place that goes beyond our parks, that looks at pools, looks at summer programs, lessons for kids, and all the facilities that we currently man.
Okay, great. The next question that came in is, what is your stance on the Entertainment Industry Investment Act designed to provide a tax credit of up to 35% to production companies that film in Arizona?
Well, I've been a big fan and supporter of our Chandler Independent Film Festival that goes on every January, and I'm looking forward to season 5 coming up this January. So I think anything that we can do to bring business and positive attention to our state. I mean, look, the raw beauty of our state is just unparalleled, not just the Grand Canyon, but Sedona, and even in the valley with the surrounding mountains. I believe that we used to have a fairly stout break that was into effect until the Great Recession hit a little over a decade ago. And I know that our legislators have been reticent about just broad-based offering tax breaks for everything. But I would definitely support, like I said, anything that would bring positive attention and economic business to our community, including this. In some rendition, of course.
Okay. Well, speaking of kind of that tax break, one of the questions I got asked is, what can the city do to help small businesses? Many other cities have grants and programs to support businesses with their chamber. This person hasn't seen any of those so far for Chandler.
I do know that with the PPP and the EIDL programs, the federal government has invested trillions of dollars in liquidity into the market, specifically around keeping people employed. So we have offered the collateral assistance program through our IDA to reduce some risk lenders while making a loan to business. And this is an option I know for our businesses to explore. I have asked. This came up at the Chandler board meeting, and I had a conversation with our economic development director about that. And we are looking into this and seeing exactly what some of these other cities are doing and what's the true impact. So at this time, we're exploring that. And if it looks like something that would actually bring some true benefit without, again, putting the city and our credit rating in any kind of eye-raising suspicion, then we can continue to pursue this and look into it.
Okay, great. Thinking about downtown and getting people back, you know, kind of revitalized, can you talk to us a little bit about the additional expansion efforts the city has for downtown?
Well, on normal situations, our downtown buzzes well. Obviously, since our downtown is a lot of retail with bars and restaurants, those are the businesses that have been hard hit. As I look off my office, as I look out the window from my office just to the west, we see New Square that is ready to open. The office spaces, the bank had already opened. There's a new restaurant that has gone in there. A ramen place that was just announced recently. DC Steakhouse will be coming in. Behind there, I see a beautiful parking garage right behind the Chandler Home Hilton. So Chandler Garden Inn. I had to look out my window to actually get the title right. So this will continue to bring some much needed energy and some jobs into downtown Chandler. The Olivers have opened, as I'm looking to the north, the current First Credit building and the one next are getting a facelift, and he's invested some good money into there. I had been working with a plan as a mayor to actually get some consulting on looking to the east and to the south of a development. And I had some consulting lined up with U.S. Conference of Mayors. I was going to be in, I think, in Florida at the beginning of this month. And obviously that was one of many conferences that and consultations that have been canceled. But we'll continue to see what we can do to add to the vibrancy of our downtown by adding perhaps some more businesses, more office, more residents going off to the east by the tracks. And then certainly our downtown is a neighborhood that could use some life and redevelopment around there. And I believe perhaps around Washington Street as we punch that through in our capital improvement project plans in the next couple of years. That'll give us another backside of Arizona Avenue that'll attract some business. So there's a lot more work to be done. In the meantime, in our budget, we continue to set aside a significant amount of money to reinforce and the ongoing maintenance and development of our downtown, the colonnades, making sure that the services and resources that we have will continue to make this area attractive.
All right, great. Well, speaking of Arizona Avenue, one of the questions is, what is the status of the recently announced mixed-use project at the southeast corner of Arizona and Chandler across from Overstreet?
So I've been following that project. When I first got involved in Chandler government back in 2008, that was an issue, that was an opportunity then, and that piece of property is obviously a very valuable piece that close to our downtown that will one day make a great economic campus. But there's been several things that have been projected there, several opportunities that have gone forth, but it just has not, it's just not made itself possible yet. A deal's not been struck, and we continue to see different site plans developed. I've heard banks, I've heard a museum, certainly a lot of restaurant pads and other opportunities that have projected there, but we're still waiting for the owners and the right people to make this thing happen.
Okay, well, we're going to go to our live question and answer right now. So one of the questions that just came in is, Chandler's been in the news a lot lately, not necessarily all for good. Can you tell us what we really need, or we really didn't know anything about the Pennington Gardens until the body bags started coming out. Shouldn't we have been following up on these nursing homes and memory care centers when we know that they're a bullseye for this pandemic? We need to keep Chandler safe, and that includes our elderly as well as our kids and our business. What's your response or thoughts on this?
Sure. So it's been about 2 weeks since they actually started giving zip code data from the state level, and we had that level. We were informed about the same time the hospital was that there was spreading cases going on there, which has certainly continued to be a case. You're right, that's not been good news. I've had relatives that have stayed there in the past. My grandmother was there, and I know several of my friends have relatives there now. And it's unfortunately nursing homes, not just this one, but others, if you look at where things have bloomed around the state, and what I've heard across the nation is that nursing homes have been very, very vulnerable. And it's a population that if anyone has been the most vulnerable to this virus, it's been seniors with additional cases, which describes most of the folks who are in these senior living facilities. So we heard about this late too. We've had our fire department that have regularly now, not just looking at Pennington Gardens, but even the small mom and pop nursing homes that are in homes that have been following up with these. There's been a lot of improvement in terms of their health care. I think it was a couple weeks ago, about the same time, that was part of, before we were actually even aware of what was going on at Pennington, that the governor had made some announcements about issuing additional PPEs and other attention to senior living facilities and nursing homes. So it's been harsh news. But as I mentioned, I think 85224, the last I looked, it seems to be getting more under control in terms of our nursing homes with proper care. I'm seeing other zip codes where they're also prevalent, whether it's in Tucson or up north or around the valley, that there's still some others that are still struggling to get these under control. So it's tragedy. I cannot underscore how harsh this is to both families and to those living there. But our fire department, as I mentioned, has been daily been making calls, not just Pennington, but to these others. And we're seeing how we can help get this, this epidemic under control into these situations and locations.
All right, thank you. You know, obviously we have a lot of people on the line today that really care about our city and what we're doing. One of the questions that just came in says, crime seems to be on the rise in downtown Chandler, especially with yesterday's situation that occurred. Businesses are being tagged and broken into. What is the city doing to address this situation? And is there anything that the city can do to talk to landlords about their buildings being boarded up and that are vacant in those areas, as well as being an eyesore?
Yeah, so one of the things that we have seen is, while overall crime or police reporting is down, but of course that makes sense because we've got fewer cars on the road, we are seeing an uptick on some certain things. Vehicle break-ins, certainly domestic violence, and those are two that are increasing. Downtown yesterday, starting at about 2 a.m. was a very scary event, as we had a case where police had noticed someone breaking into a building, and that led to a pursuit, which led to a holding up in a house, to a fire, to another. And as I mentioned earlier, this person was finally apprehended, and there's a fair amount of news on that. So certainly we have increased patrols. We've got as all the officers that we can currently doing more patrolling. We've added all of those who are SROs, or school resource officers, that were once devoted their time to schools, are also making patrols and out on the street. We certainly welcome letting us know, and if for buildings that are boarded up, or if you see suspicious activity, please call us. We have ramped up more patrols, and we will continue to do so in areas like downtown where we see increased concern. I had at the church where I'm also a pastor, I've got a great video someone stealing our ring. And so I forwarded that on to them, and it's kind of fascinating what people are doing and what they're stealing and why. And had some great video of a lady, middle-aged lady, apprehending our ring and what she did with it, which I forwarded it on to our police department. But I do know that there's a lot of idle hands. There's also a lot of people that are out of work that are turning to some criminal activities. And we'll do our best to keep them off the street. We're very excited to see whatever we can do to open this economy up. And again, I'm hoping that there's going to be an announcement from our governors. I'm seeing responses from other governors across the states about loosening and opening economies in Arizona, as we're seeing in other states as well.
All right, well, thank you. So it is National Heroes Day today. And so let me see where this question just went. Maybe they revoked it. But what they were asking is, what are we doing to help protect our first responders with PPEs and making sure that they have everything that they need?
So I drove by on the way home on Fry Road, as we have one of our fire stations there, and I smiled. Our fire station is on the south side of Fry, between Arizona Avenue and Alma School. And on the north side, there is just a row of signs of, "We appreciate you, thank you, Chandler Fire." And we are getting a warm response from our community, certainly paying attention to them. We meet weekly as council, discussing how our police and fire are doing and what are they seeing in our community. What's our level of personal protection equipment? Do we have enough to make things through? And we're continuing to work to acquire whatever we can do, but we do have a fair stock. We've changed operations to eliminate exposure of both our police and officers to COVID, to make sure that they're protected so that they continue to serve us. We've changed procedures that on some cases, for example, we have fewer fire that will actually be exposed in, although a full course will go out, but how we're actually approaching people and where we're approaching people, and the whole procedures have changed just to make sure that we're also providing excellent service, but also preserving as much PPEs as possible. We've currently, we continue to monitor if there's ever any hint of sickness. We get our guys tested. If anyone is not feeling well, we'll send them home. We're currently very blessed and surprised to make sure that our guys are protected and they're safe.
All right. Well, what is the, let's talk about some budget questions. There seems to be quite a few of them in here today, but what is the projected impact of the decline in the economic activity on the city, specifically the budget in the forward-looking manner, and what will likely be the response of the city to any meaningful decline?
Well, one of the things that we're fortunate with Chandler is that we have a pretty diverse base of income. Chandler has a primary property tax, where some other cities like Mesa, for example, does not. Chandler has with our TPT, also serving on food, which a couple other cities, Phoenix, Mesa, do not. We don't rely predominantly on touristry like Sedona or Scottsdale or Paradise Valley. We did not have the hit as other cities did to spring training. So we've also got a diverse workforce. So whether Chandler is a pretty big manufacturing town, of course, with their Intels and Northrop Grumman's and NXP and those kind of companies. So all of these impacts, diversity with our workforce, a diversity with income streams, will help us weather this better than other cities. Currently, we have seen a hit, particularly where we're being most affected, as with many of our small businesses, have to do with our restaurants, with our bars, with our retail business. And as they're getting hammered, obviously we're seeing less income. Our less income is minimal compared to the impact that we're seeing with our small businesses. However, we have, going into this, we had a pretty big or pretty good surplus into February, into March, that will carry us through, we believe, and even help us mitigate some of the impact that we're currently seeing with finances. We have seen that hit, and currently our early surpluses that were there through the holidays, have helped us to not dig or dip into our economic stability reserves. So that's where we've been so far. As we plan this next year, we have certainly reduced some income stream projections. A funny way, the way the state is run, I guess maybe funny isn't a good phrase, but an interesting way is that we have not seen the impact of the TPT hit yet, because we've not seen projections from March or April. We expect to see these because after the state took over TPT, there's been a 2-month lag, and we just have not had that information available. So we've been planning a budget a bit in a vacuum, as is every other city. The CARES Act, any money that comes to cities is one of the revenues streams that this is not available, is lost income. So that's something that even when and if money comes and is available to Chandler, we won't be able to tap into that. Mesa and Phoenix and Tucson are large enough entities that when the CARES Act funds do come in, they're cities over 5,000, that they'll get a direct stream from this. Although them, like us too, they can't use any of that money for just for diminished revenue streams. So they're going to be facing that as well. One of the things, as I mentioned a little earlier, beyond planning on some revenue hits, is that we're going to be meeting quarterly with our city staff to continue to be able to make some agile adjustments. So I think August will be our first meeting with the city, a work session that'll talk about where are we at. That'll be a month and a half after our new budget is in place. And we'll be able to have the information from the effect of TPT and to see where that is at. Interesting enough, we're still seeing a lot of people taking out permits through our city. So business is still open, construction is happening, and those types of things. There's still a confidence in Chandler on the other side of this. So currently, I guess to summarize, we don't know the full impact on this. We've made some cuts. We've made some more cuts. We have a $10 million economic stability fund that we've not dipped into. We have a 15% rainy day fund, 15% on our general fund that will be intact, that we can dip into if we need to. We have some other streams that, although they're currently purposed, if need be, we can repurpose them. So we think we're currently ready, and we think that we can make changes if indeed the impact of this goes deeper than we currently have planned for.
Okay, thank you for that. I'm going to go back to some of the questions that were submitted earlier, and then I'll go back to our live questions. But back on the budget. So this question came in yesterday, and it says, I heard that the city is reducing taxes, but when you really look at it, it's only about $10 per household. The city's reserve is much greater. Shouldn't you be giving those monies back to the taxpayers?
Well, that's a good question. And I think every year, certainly since I've been mayor, and every year is far beyond that since I've been on council, is that we have looked at the tax in question is property tax. We have made this year, and I think every year, we've cut our current rate as the value of property in Chandler has soared, or has certainly continued to increase. Look, as much as we would like to, and we'll continue to look at making tax or property tax decreases next year if possible as well, or every year, we don't know the true impact of where this is going to be on us. And so we've made a very modest decrease on our property tax, but until we know more and the impact of this, it wouldn't be prudent for us to roll back more at this point.
Okay. All right. The next question that is from yesterday is, in light of the numerous layoffs and closings, I understand that the city is proposing pay increases for all of the city staff. Please tell me that that isn't true.
Very simple. That isn't true. One of the things that I passed several months, it was an initiative that I did. One was to freeze council payroll, and that happened really, I had started this in January, so before this was ever an issue. We did negotiate with our first responders. That which we negotiated earlier, we're continuing with that, which is merit and keeping them in step with their with police and fire around the state, although I don't think anyone else is going to be doing increases, so that will be somewhat static. We have implemented, we're doing no COLAs with the rest of our staff as well. So at this point, we're not contemplating, we'll be meeting with our top staff coming up, and we'll see. But I don't see the city bloating our city staff while everyone else is struggling at this point.
Okay, let me go back to some of the development and city expansion. So one of the questions was, what plans does the city have to eliminate the day workers from Arizona Avenue?
You know, that's been an issue I've looked at over a decade with our nonprofits. We've always had some questions and comments about day labor. And folks, there's nothing new with this one. This has been people standing on street corners where they are allowed to is a right. And whether someone is there enjoying the sun or talking with someone or standing on the street corner looking for a job, our ability to do anything is somewhat limited in terms of by people's right to assemble. As long as they're not assembling in a place on a private business that says they're trespassing, we cannot do anything. If they're on a public sidewalk, they have every right to be there. So our resources over the last decade and beyond, this has not been a new question to us, but we have monitored what are people doing, and as long as, again, they're not doing anything wrong, our resources and ability to change this is limited.
Okay, two more actually around development. So is the city planning on extending the runway at the airport?
We're currently doing, as required about every 10 years by the FAA, we're doing an assessment on the airport. So an airport study. So one of the options that we continue to look at is we set the limit of what the airport could be. I think even with development that went on at the end with the cabinet manufacturing to about 5,700 feet, or currently at 4,850, I believe, or 4,870. So we're looking at that in the sense that is it best for our community? It's been a very contentious issue over the years, and I don't believe, or I'm certainly not planning on doing anything that wouldn't get public input as part of that. So new jets are certainly quieter. New jets and increasing this to a different kind of people would bring some of our corporate folks there, as well as displace some of the touch and goes that going on there that could alleviate some of the ongoing noise. So it's something that we're looking at. But again, if we do, as required by a resolution on the council, it'll go out on a bond vote and our community will have the opportunity to speak on it.
Okay, great. A question that just came in on the Zoom chat is, what is Chandler doing to ensure that the residents are aware of and I think it's LIHEAP, L-I-HEAP, funding available to those struggling to pay their utility bills?
I didn't understand the LIHEAP.
Yes, LIHEAP funding.
Okay, I'll have to get back to you on that. I'm not familiar with that. I do know that the city is not closing off people's utilities at this time. I've understood that SRP and APS are not shutting off people's utilities. So, you know, what this looks like on the other side, we'll see, but I'm not aware that anyone's utilities are in danger of being cut off at this time.
I don't think the person just said, you know, it's lie help, a lie heap. Sorry about that. It's federal funding provided to underserved residents. And I don't think he's referring to that we're shutting anyone off. It's just how are we helping to create the awareness around those that are struggling, that they have that opportunity to help with funding to pay their utility bills.
You know, we'll post out on that. If it's not currently on our webpage, I'll be honest with you, I'm not knowledgeable on that, but my staff is on here too, and we'll be looking at that and getting out some information. Okay. So you can follow that. I'll push something out on my Mayor Kevin Hartke page later today, but I don't have an answer for that one. Sorry.
Okay. This person would be interested in knowing more about how the innovations is being repositioned. Are there opportunities to partner with the chamber there? This individual watched the budget hearings with interest, and there seems to be economies of scale that could be realized as both organizations have similar goals.
Well, you are, whoever this person was, thank you for watching. It was our budget, all-day budget session starts at about 8:15, and I think we ran till about after 3 in the afternoon. So it's a long process. So we're always open and looking at partnerships where it makes sense, and certainly love to connect whoever this person is with Diane White at Innovations and through our economic development, Micah Miranda, to see what we can do.
Okay. You know, Mayor, I hate to hit you with these because I think there's a couple more, and I just want to make sure that we're really addressing, you know, our individuals' concerns or thoughts. But on the chat, it says, I heard that some of the proposed budget talks were behind closed doors. Can you address that? A lot of people obviously watched your, you know, city council meeting this past week.
Sure. So we frequently and often, whether on one-on-ones or in other measures, get information from our city. So in this case, the city was running by, there was nothing, closed doors of information that was not presented earlier in terms of some budget stuff, or was not presented both on Monday or certainly on Friday that related to the budget. It was, staff was looking for some initial thoughts on a budget briefing in terms of looking at what are some possible ways that the city could diminish or make some cuts concerning CIP or some other things. It was a briefing. We get briefings all the time from city manager and from others on things going out. So okay. There was no closed door decisions, which I think is the base of this question. We're briefed all the time, decisions were not made, and this was like a briefing as we were briefed at all times.
Okay, I think there's one more on the budget, and then I think we can wrap that piece up. But it says, Mayor, the city is giving pay increases. It is in the city manager's executive budget summary. As
I mentioned, with our first responders, there's some, and there is a minimal amount, I think, in some merit in whatever that is applies to. But in terms of COLA, terms of others, we'll see what that looks like. We've also asked, the city manager has asked for the ability on the other side of this coming out, do we have the ability to do one-times with staff? That's something that we'll also look at on the other side. But no COLAs, minimum merit, and with first responders, we kept their, as I mentioned, we kept their contract intact that we put together earlier.
Okay, well, let's turn it over to a little lighthearted question. Mayor,
right.
When the stay-at-home order is lifted, what is the first restaurant that you'll visit in downtown Chandler?
Well, I've certainly every week, several times a week, I am going to downtown and doing takeout, and whether it's the local or Chiba Hut, or I'm looking forward actually to check out the new DC Steakhouse and their new digs right across the street. I'm excited about the ramen place whenever that opens, but I love our downtown and I'm looking forward to continue to support. So I don't know what my first will be, quite honestly. I've been hankering for a pizza, which takes me to either Crust or Craft 64, and I've just not made it over there for lunch at this point.
All right. Well, we'll be on the watch for your Facebook post of where you're headed first. Mayor, next question that came in online is, what are your actions or plans that have been discussed to help the Chandler Unified School District?
Repeat that question again, please.
Yep. So what are your plans or actions that have been discussed to help the Chandler Unified School District?
Well, certainly working with our nonprofits through Forest City, we've got a lot of volunteers that are currently helping with the lunch program. We had scheduled a meeting. We met with their school board, oh gosh, several months ago before all this was going on, and we had scheduled another meeting with them in May, which we've canceled. And at that point, we'll see how we can help them and what resources. Currently, as many of you might know, this Chandler Unified is working on a new high school campus that'll be in Chandler, and we're working with them both for zoning and just seeing what we can do to help with that project. We're partnering with them on Gilbert Road to make sure that that part is developed to handle increased traffic. We've been working with them also to make sure that as they have some, at least currently, additional land that's not part of the complete master plan, we've got some folks on their design plan to help with the traffic mitigation to get things off. We'll be adding another signal on Queen Creek, which will be north, so that the buses on their new bus bay off of Ocotillo can have greater access getting in and out. So looking forward to seeing how we can help and work with them more. I think I've been the first mayor that has ever scheduled these quarterly meetings with our school board to see how we can work closely together. And those are really where the ask and the opportunities come forth. And I'm looking forward to our next one to see how we can continue and further this relationship.
All right, before I go back to the questions that were submitted earlier yesterday, here's one more from the live chat. It seems that the COVID incident has shown some vulnerable aspects of our economy. Wouldn't it be a good time to invest in alternative energy, solar, for instance, hydroelectricity, and alternative fuels for cars?
Well, those are all emerging technologies that'll continue to develop. And as you know, we're certainly looking and welcome to see how we can partner with pilot projects on these. I'd say more the vulnerabilities that have been exposed are certainly energy is one, but they seem to be working well. I'm always concerned about things related to like water and other types of things to see how we can increase efficiencies and add best practices. But I think I don't think that we were prepared economically for something like this. And I think there's certainly some efficiencies and new processes to be gained there. We certainly were not prepared for anything that would shut us down economically like this, or what's going on for public health, for example, in senior centers. Those are more of my takeaways with some of these in terms of areas that we need to be better prepared and plan on how do we handle things like this that just take us out economically. But concerning the energies, we're always open, and Arizona will continue to develop and look at solar in particular. I mean, gosh, we're the sunshine state, and to see how we can continue to explore energy savings and new technologies.
All right. Well, we're going to jump back over to our questions that were submitted. So let's start off with, will the city promote social distancing as part of life and continue to monitor large gatherings cautiously?
Well, I think part of the rollout of getting back to normal is social distancing is still part of that. And I don't know when and what the governor will come up with, and what we put together for our plan will certainly be modified as we see what he's doing and how he's opening up the state. But social distancing, until we are back to whatever normal looks like, I think social distancing is part of that. certainly being concerned for those who are most at risk, whether they live in a senior facility or in a home. We need to exercise caution and encourage people who are at risk to not only exercise social distancing, but just be wise where you go, when you go, be aware of your surroundings, continue to do this hand washing stuff that's now become the new norm for all of us. I've never washed my hands so much as during these last several months. And I thought I had a pretty good hygiene regime. So yes, I believe it's going to be part of our ongoing regime until we get a better handle on how do we control this virus or looking at future ones.
Yeah, I think we'll all probably have to take stock in hand lotion or things like that to help with the drying from washing so much. A new norm.
It's been kind of cool though, hasn't it been, to see Santan and others kind of remarket from beer to sanitizer and others kind of opening that space. So I've really been impressed with some of the ingenuity that's come out of our community and others.
Yeah, people are definitely getting creative. So it's really great to see those juices back flowing. So one of the other questions that came in is the city considering the light rail down Arizona Avenue? Is this true? And if so, why?
So I'm currently the chair of the Regional Public Transportation Authority, which is buses and those rides that get people to other arterials. So light rail in its form runs east and west. Our closest is Arizona. Our closest is up in Mesa. As I'm looking up Arizona, we have no plan to run light rail down here. We've kept a membership on Valley Metro, certainly to see what's going to happen through the next level of funding through Prop 400 going into 500. We have looked at this as how can we connect people to light rail? Are there other new technologies related to autonomous vehicles, platooning vehicles, better coordinating of lights that can get us around Chandler? But I and our current council envisions really more of a less intrusive and disruptive form of transportation that will get us to some mainstays like light rail, but there is no plans to run light rail up and down Arizona. We currently do have the remainders of an environmental plan that will both serve whether, if for some strange, bizarre reason, this looks feasible for that in the future, but really it'll serve us looking at other modalities of transportation that'll connect us with light rail.
Okay, great. Here's a question that came in on the chat. So the city is hosting several concerts in the park. Why wouldn't the city just allow the downtown group to do this instead of wasting monies on doing it themselves? Why is the city putting so much money into social service programs and not into businesses?
I'm not aware that we're putting, quote, so much money into social services. This is, in fact, if anything, we have, there's very few social services that are going on right now. This and others are usually partnerships, and I don't know where the funding streams are coming with that, other than we continue to offer some types of things, as well as seeing how we can support our businesses.
Yeah, I think this person's probably just referring to in general of the several concerts, because we all know, things are changed right now, but I think, when we open up, they're just looking to understand, where the city is coming from of driving that versus, utilizing one of the resources that's already available in the city of Chandler.
Okay.
All right, so the next one is, what is the status of the vacant property across from Walmart on Arizona Avenue?
I think we answered that one. You already asked that one.
No, that was the across from on Arizona and let me just look back.
Chandler Boulevard.
Yeah, different property. So this one is across from the Walmart on the other side of Arizona Avenue.
No, that's the one we answered earlier, having to do that was one of the first questions that you asked. Are you talking about the property next to Jack in the Box on Arizona Avenue? Because I'll go back. What I said earlier was that there's been several proposals for development on that. They've been trying to market that. There's been, as I mentioned, hotels, a museum that were listed as possibilities for that, but they have not been able to really broker that and make that thing happen. There's been several different site plans that have been part of that, but no deal has been struck. It's one of the largest remaining tracts of land along the 202, and the city sees this property as highly desirable as an employment campus, but no deal has been struck at this point.
Okay, and I think just to clarify, one of the questions was the vacant property across from Walmart, and then the other one was the Overstreet project that I think you're referring to by Jack in the Box.
Okay, so that one hasn't been asked yet, but what we're looking at here is LGE, who did Overstreet, currently have the right to develop that. That's been delayed a little bit, as everything else is down here, and they have not missed dates at this point, so we're still waiting to see what happens on that property. Honestly, I'm a big believer. One of my friends and former council members, Nora Ellen, coined this often, is that I'm in no hurry for a bad project. I'd rather wait for the best project, and when we come out of this recession, I think something really cool will show up on that property. But at this point, LGE has the development rights, and we'll continue to work with them on this development corner. Core still owns the Arizona, I'm sorry, close to Chandler Boulevard, and we're not quite sure what they're doing. They had another party that was looking at developing this, and then they declined. So area north of Jack in the Box is to be determined. The area south and east is, the city owns that, and that's the piece that we've worked with LGE to develop.
Okay, so here's a question that came in on chat. Since the health system in Arizona is mostly impacted, are we looking at ways that we can improve this? And I'm not the only one talking about our medical partners having sufficient PPEs, but there are many people affected with no medical insurance. So many people have their insurance tied to their jobs. If they lose their jobs, they lose their medical insurance. Can we implement a plan that isn't COBRA, because that's so expensive for people?
That would be great. That's not something that the city directly does, but certainly we would and could advocate for making sure that we've got a health stability and cushion for everyone that works in Chandler as well as Arizona. So if there is some legislation that we can champion, I'd certainly be willing to take that to our state folks or beyond.
Okay, and then this one just came in regard to the downtown concert question that we were asking, is actually in response to the downtown concert issue. I think the better question is, why is the city keep giving money, or keep giving so much money to the DCCP?
So just watching a vehicle drive on the wrong way of Arizona Avenue here from my office, that was weird. We have an ongoing partnership with the DCCP that most of the money that comes from them is, as an entertainment district, comes from the city's property part on that. So that's our primary support with them. We believe that our downtown is iconic, and we certainly want to see it grow and prosper and be supported. So this relationship, when I first moved here in the 80s, I remember walking downtown and thinking, I don't know whether I need to do this again. It was old, it was shuttered, and I look at our downtown now as it's iconic, it's beautiful. Outside of this COVID-19 event, it's been very prosperous. We host a number of events that just highlight Chandler and downtown Chandler in AJ Chandler Park, and it's part of who we are as a city, and it's where our roots are, both with the San Marcos on the north end, City Hall in the south, and everything in between. So it really is like other cities. It's our downtown, it's our identity, and we want to see it prosper.
All right. The next question is came in on our chat. Why would the city outsource a program for small business and startups and pay $250,000 a year when your local Chamber of Commerce can provide the same resources?
Well, they're not the same resources in terms of the incubator, what we do with NASA. This is a program that we developed quite a while ago, and in terms of our incubator and programs and helping startups. So it's proven to work well with us. And we've had partnerships, and certainly will continue with the Chamber that we love, and will continue to work with them.
All right. Well, how often do you have calls with the governor or state representatives is one of the questions that just came in.
We started off with COVID-19. The governor calls were every day. They went then to twice a week. Those got canceled as of last week. So we don't have calls starting this week, although I found their office very responsive. I've been texting Ben Blink, for example, and he's very responsive to mine and other calls. This week, I'll be in a conference call with Senator Sinema. I'll be in a conference call with Congressman Biggs. And as I mentioned, I found the governor's office still responsive when I have texted or emailed or called them. But the conference calls that we've had, those ended last week.
All right.
I actually found that good news, with the hope of them thinking that we're going to be opening up the state and thinking that perhaps there's less new news to share. And so I took that as a positive rather than a negative in terms of them thinking they didn't want our input, or they didn't have, I just took it as they have less information to share, and we're coming out of this.
Yeah, it's great that you can, make that connection so easily to help share information with all of us. So Mayor, we're going to take another question about the school district. So this individual says, Mayor, it's great you're working so closely with Chandler Unified School District, but what are you doing to work with Kyrene School District, who also has 9 schools in the city of Chandler?
We love Kyrene, and there's great things going on in West Chandler. I think we continue to look at how can we develop and build new relationships with them. Kyrene, Chandler is a smaller part of their district, so I think a lot of their focus is more Ahwatukee, Tempe, but we have and we continue to look to see how can we develop and build relationships with them. But it's an ongoing work in process. Chandler Unified, we're the biggest part of their district, where they also have some of Gilbert and certainly Queen Creek, where, as I mentioned, with Kyrene, we're one of the smaller portions of their district. So it's an economy of scale in terms of working relationship. But we love what goes on in Kyrene, and they're an outstanding school district, and we love continuing to work with them.
All right, great. Well, this is a question regarding, employees going back to work and it being safe. Will the city have any involvement in that, and how do you feel it'll be rolled out?
Well, that's the governor's decision, and how I feel it's going to roll out is what I expect him to say is opening businesses with social distancing, and kind of allowing businesses who are able to put that in place, whether it's 50% or less starting off. I expect that. I still expect first rounds for businesses that open to not only exercise social distances, but possibly use masks at a greater regard, and to see how that works. But I'm curious to see how things work out, seeing what's happened in Georgia, seeing how other states are rolling this out and their first steps. And I do expect us to take a similar tack. But again, I'm waiting on the governor to see. I am eager, and I can't emphasize how eager I am to see our state and our city open up. This has been a massive hit. And I think certainly the data that we are seeing in Chandler outside of nursing homes, the impact and the amount of the spread has certainly been controlled. Our hospitals are far from overwhelmed, with this. They have additional capacity, as has been reported by our execs, and I think we're ready to see a new phase of open and allowing people to get back to work.
All right. Well, this question just came in on the chat. It says, I have 120 employees here in Chandler and have a fairly large presence. I work very closely with the chamber, and the mayor keeps talking about economic development. I didn't know that Chandler had an economic development office.
Is that a comment or is there a question?
I think it's just a comment, but maybe you can talk about, you know,
Sure.
what courses are available there.
A lot of what our economic development department does is at normally, and again, these are not normal days, is that we have hundreds of contacts from people both contacting the city to learn more about Chandler and business opportunities to things that are ready to be unveiled. So we have a pipeline of ongoing things and companies looking at Chandler. We partner with the chamber on business retention visits, as well as we're called to do our own at times, as the chamber does as well. So a lot of the announcements that come, we've been working with them as a city for often months, if not years. Some of these are not available to be, the information isn't shared until the companies are level or ready to do this. Those type of announcements, whether sharing with the chamber or with the public, that's the discretion of the companies when they're coming to Chandler. So it's a pretty robust and diverse things that we do with our economic development department. We've been pretty successful in continuing to attract high-tech companies as well as a diverse set, which is our goal.
All right. Well, let's focus on one more question from the online area. It says, I think we all agree that the Chandler Chamber has been a great partner in supporting Chandler on all venues. Many chambers receive financial support from their city. Chandler is not one of those. Since the CARES Act is not open to the chamber, is the city willing to help the chamber stay open? It's hard to see the city offering raises to their employees while the chamber is just trying to stay afloat. As a chamber member, I feel the need to ask, if you value the chamber, please do something financially during this, or would you be able to do something financially during this rough time?
I don't know that answer. I know that our partnership is deep, and we support the chamber in lots of ways. We're excited about massively supporting again with the Ostrich Festival, and as it will be coming up, hopefully this again. And so we support the chamber in a lot of ways, and we will continue. And certainly I know it's been very tough over there as it is across our city.
All right. Well, I'm just going to share a couple of the comments with you that came in. So this is no question, but this individual just wanted to say thank you for chatting with us today. I very much appreciate all that you do. Mayor, our downtown has grown and become even more vibrant and beautiful than ever. So thank you for your stewardship. And then I think this person really kind of reflects my role today, so I greatly appreciate it. You know, first of all, thank you, Mayor, for joining us today. I know we had to hit you with a lot of hard questions during some hard times, but we appreciate your willingness to address them and take them into serious consideration as you and the council continues to make decisions about what's happening here in Chandler.
All right. Well, thank you all. It's been, again, an honor to be able to address some of your questions. Feel free to email me, email the chamber, our staff, in any ways that we can continue to serve you and see how we can get through this together.
All right. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Terry Kimball to wrap up.
Great.
Thank you, Molly.
Thank you.
Thank you, Molly. I just want to give a quick update on what the chamber is doing as we continue to pivot and continue to help lead that business community Our staff is on daily phone calls, calling every single business here in Chandler. How are you doing? Getting a pulse check. We have done 3 amazing surveys that we've sent out to our membership, really talking about where their struggles are. Have they applied for PPP and all those other loan programs? We're hosting a weekly series every Thursday at 10 a.m. with SBA and experts. Last week we had experts on unemployment, how to navigate for employers as well as employees. This week we will have SBA experts on, as well as our partners with SBDC. A lot came up about small business counseling and so forth. The Chamber continues to do those small business counseling sessions. Last year, we hosted over 530 small business counseling sessions with our partners here in the community, as well as local experts that also do counseling for businesses. And it doesn't matter, and those are all free services that we offer and will continue to offer. When you take a look at most of our networking, and that we're still keeping businesses connected with many of our networking opportunities. The Chandler Chamber still continues to host over 300 events throughout the year in various sizes and really showcasing them. You know, the mayor talked about our partnership with economic development, as well as doing some of those business retention and expansion visits, which have been very helpful for businesses, and really kind of listening to them and hearing what they have to say. Every situation is unique, and we treat every one of our businesses as that unique partner. I want to talk a little bit about our updates. I agree with the mayor. We were also on daily phone calls at the beginning with the governor's office. It's now dwindled down. Now ours are down to twice a week. In fact, I have one today at 3 o'clock. We've also been in contact with the Arizona Commerce Authority, as well as the Arizona Department of Tourism, on what are those next phases of steps. In fact, we submitted a report on Friday on what we would like to see as that phase in for businesses, and to be able to get them reopened. We know that they are hurting. We hear it every single day, and my team has been absolutely amazing. I think in one day I took over 60 calls personally that I physically talked to every single one of those businesses and helping them navigate. PPP and EIDL loans are available. Yes, they have recently opened back up as of Monday, but we have a whole list of SBA lenders that are on our website. We also have some of our banks that we are actually making personal introductions for, in those financial institutions that are funding those things for business. We continue to work with some of those businesses. And Mayor, I am just going to do a shout out because you didn't mention this, but there was a lot that you had to mention. But the city was also on the forefront right at the beginning and helping to reduce the sign ordinance, for instance, on a temporary basis. And this was a big deal to some of our businesses. So for instance, they could put "we're open" or "drive up only" or so forth. The city council was right out in front of that early stages, and we appreciated that because that was a big deal to some of these companies. You know, people would drive by and they would say, are they open? Are they not open? And so I want to thank you for that. That was just one of the things that we jumped on as a community together. You can see by some of the questions, we can tell people are getting antsy, and we know you want to reopen, but we really have to open smartly. We hosted a roundtable discussion group with the head of Banner, Peter Fine, as well as Mark Slider, who is the head of Dignity, which is Chandler Regional and Mercy Gilbert Hospital, and really kind of listening to them, hearing from those experts on, those are healthcare professionals. That's who I look to. When I take a look at myself, I don't try to self-analyze myself. I look to those healthcare professionals. And they gave us some real insight on what was going on here in Chandler and from their perspective. And we were very, very, they were very strategic and very cautious, which I appreciate. We have quality healthcare here in Chandler, and we want to keep it that way. So I just want to make sure that everybody knows, please give our office a call. We do have a business resources page on our website as well. In fact, the governor when this first started, the governor even tweeted that out as one of the best practices in the state of Arizona. So we appreciate that. We will be working with the governor's office on what that rollout looks like. It will not be on Friday, I can tell you. Everybody opened their doors. I know that from conversations, and the mayor even indicated that. And so we are going to be smart about this, as well as working with our educational partners, our university partners, community college, on how do we keep those. We've got lots of people that are unemployed. How do we retool them? How do we get them back in the workforce? What are those skills that they need? How do we get them so that they are actively employed here in our community? And that's really, really critical as we move forward as well. We have an amazing board of directors, and the mayor even sits on that board, and they're open. They are listening to your questions and answers, and we are then bringing that to the forefront. We are in almost daily conversations with our federal delegation. I joke that they see my cell phone number coming up and they're like, "Hey, Terry, what's up now?" But that's a good thing, because they are listening to us, and Chandler does matter. And as we continue to come together as a community, that is going to be more and more important, that we have that one message. And as we continue to reopen, and how we keep Chandler viable. So Mayor, thank you so much for everything. And I really appreciate that. I know Molly thanked you, but I also want to personally thank you. And council, because we've had several council members that have been in the trenches with me and listening to some of those businesses that are struggling. And we truly appreciate that listening ear. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, and Terry, I think, on behalf of not only the board, but all of the businesses in the city of Chandler, thank you to you and your team for all of your hard work, your efforts. We know that you guys have been working 24/7 to ensure that each and every business is listened to, and they're having the opportunity to, reach out to these resources and really provide them the support that they need as we go through and find the new normal moving forward. So thank you for all that you do. We greatly appreciate it.
Great, thank you.
All right. Well, I think we're ready to wrap up then. I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you for joining. Mayor, thank you. Terry, thank you. And thank you for all of our businesses and individuals that are on the phone today via Zoom. We appreciate your support, and hopefully we were able to get to answer all of your questions today. So have a great day.
Molly, I just want to do a thank you to our sponsors, Dignity Health, Intel, Catalyst Computer Technologies, and we really appreciate and SRP, and we could not do it without those. They have been amazing, amazing partners and continue to lead business in the right direction. So thank you to our partners.
All right. Well, everyone have a great Tuesday, and we'll be looking forward to the mayor's Facebook post on his first restaurant that he visits once the city opens back up. So Mayor, start thinking hard about what you're hungry for.
Pizza.
Ah, okay. All right. Well, enjoy. Have a great day.